Yeah, I had this conversation the other day. What is the role of a Scrum Master in backlog refinement? Well, ideally, they don't really have a role. Okay? Product backlog refinement is there to really get the team, the Scrum team, the team building the product, to understand what the need is, what the problem is, what the opportunity is, the feature is, whatever it is you're building, understanding what it is and why it matters. So it's a conversation between the customer or the product owner or an SME or somebody who understands that need and the developers. So it's for them to explore the space, ask questions, get them answered, bounce ideas around, really have a deep conversation. Okay, over time, and it is going to take time. This isn't going to be a single meeting. This is going to be a series of meetings, from it entering the backlog and it getting first estimated and ordered into that backlog and a basic level of understanding. And as long as it hangs around, it's going to come back through refinement and be broken down and understood more, and blah, 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 until you have a team that understands it really well. First and foremost, the people understand the problem. And you're probably going to document it somewhere. And absolutely, I can't imagine many organisations in this day and age who would say, it doesn't matter, don't worry about documenting it. You want it written down somewhere. But the important part is the team understand it. And if this is all working really well, the role of a Scrum Master is, well, to go do something else, to go be valuable in some other way. You've done your job in respects to refinement. Okay. So the team are able to have those conversations. They can facilitate themselves. They can move the conversation forwards by asking probing questions and, challenging their understandings, their assumptions and things like that. Amazing. You've done a great job. I doubt your organisation is perfect. So use that time to be somewhere else. Work with other people to help them be better. They're going to help your team ultimately, and let's be honest, that's the name of the game. But you're out there working with those people. You may be chasing down the impediments that have come up. You may be working with different departments because you can see down the line what's happening, but you don't need to be in the refinement meeting because the team have got it. And that's great. However, those Scrum Masters are very fortunate and very few and far between. So you're more likely to want to be in the room. So what's your role at that point? Well, it's to get them to what I just described. It's to help them become self-managing in and of themselves, right? So that you can go and do something that is potentially more valuable. So when you are in refinement, remember what your role is. You're a facilitator. You are there to hold them to the agenda, to ensure that they come out with the best outcome they can from that meeting. You're going to be the person in a refinement meeting who is noticing that there's a lull in the conversation and asking, is now the right time to size the work? Or reminding people, if they've forgotten, that last time we talked about something like this, you had a conversation on this. You don't need to be an expert in what that topic is, but you're remembering because you're not in the game what's happened. You've got that little sort of step away, a little bit of objectivity that means you can just remember, last time you talked about, is that relevant? Does that help? So you're constantly keeping them to an agenda, guiding their attention back to the topic at hand, maintaining that focus. You're also, as many teams need, the person who's just keeping an eye and an ear out for who's not engaged, who's not joining this conversation. And is that a choice? And is that a welcomed choice? Or have they chosen to disengage? So are they engaged, but they don't have anything to add? They don't want to share right now. Or are they disengaged? Or have they got something to share, but they don't feel like they can? You're watching out for this. These earlier teams, there are bumps in the road. How do we help those people speak up? How do we help them join in the conversation? Part of our role as the facilitator is to find those ways, to work with them, to work with the team, to allow those people to speak. Psychological safety becomes an important part of the Scrum Master's role, building that with the team and, if we can, across the whole organisation, but definitely within the team. We want them to know deep in their bones that they can talk, that they can say things, even if those may upset others. So while those teams are learning how to do refinement without you, you're thinking about that. Okay, why is John not joining in that conversation? How do we draw him out? Does he want to be drawn out? Or actually, is he quite happy, sat there listening and thinking? And this is the role in refinement. We're not in the product. We're not in the conversation about what the problem is and why it matters and things like that. We're giving guidance to keep people focused. So we're just nudging them back on track. We're asking questions when we feel that they've drifted off topic to help them just reflect. Are they off topic? Is it a valuable conversation? If so, how long do we spend there? You might throw a time box in and say, okay, well, I'm going to ask again in 5 minutes. Okay. Or they may jump back to the topic and say, actually, no, that's important, but for later. You can make a note as the facilitator to bring it up at the end of the meeting and say, okay, we really needed to talk about whatever it was. When's a good time? Okay, let's get it in diaries now, if that's the way you work, but let's make sure that's covered. It was important enough to sidetrack us, but not so important that we stayed sidetracked. So we need to consider it. This is your role. Okay? Many teams need this help for long, long periods of time. And many teams that don't need it appreciate it because they understand the use of a facilitator. They understand the value of somebody being in the room but separate from the content. Somebody who's objective on the sidelines, just helping them stay focused. So as I said, if you have a team who are very good at this already, you may not be needed. You may find that actually you can go do something more valuable. But even then, remember, the team may pull you in. They may recognise the value of it and want you there just to keep them on the straight and narrow. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.